articles I've written in the past. So, Bose Reed. Bose Reed is the older brother of a more famous founder, Joseph Reed. Joseph Reed was an early member of the Continental Army, is the one who escorted George Washington to at least New Jersey on the way to get the Continental Army. Joseph Reed becomes president, but what we would consider governor of Virginia for several years, and a signer of the Articles of Confederation. Now, his brother, Bose Reed, today's subject, no known image. This is just a picture of a guy on a horse. Bose Reed becomes, he's from New Jersey, and he joins the militia, and he becomes a colonel in the New Jersey militia, and he raises his own battalion, and he leads them to war. But before he goes to war, he actually is commissioned with guarding Governor Franklin. Now, when you hear Franklin, you think Benjamin Franklin, but I will remind you, Benjamin Franklin's son, William Franklin, was royal governor of New Jersey. And as with many families, as I like to say, you talk about civil wars, the Civil War being brother versus brother. The American Revolution was almost more so, because at least the Civil War was North versus South. American Revolution was, okay, do you agree with the king, or are you against the king? And families disagreed. So Benjamin Franklin revolts against the king, and his son, royal governor William Franklin, likes being royal governor and sticks with the king. But royal governor Franklin is soon after independence arrested by the Patriots, and Bose Reed is the one who's charged with overseeing this particular very important prisoner. Now, he only holds on to him for a few weeks until his fate is determined and he is sent to Connecticut to get out of New Jersey where he has more friends. He's sent to Connecticut to be held as a prisoner and eventually exchanged for someone valuable. Now, Bose Reed then goes to war. He joins George Washington in New York. But then the Battle of Brooklyn is about to break out, also known as the Battle of Long Island. And right before the Battle of Brooklyn breaks out, George Washington goes, well, I sure don't want the British to get their hands on my stuff, because I have some very valuable correspondence. It's not like Washington was being spoiled and saying, my stuff, my stuff. No. He had very important correspondence that could not be lost, as well as money that they just didn't want them to lose. Because, there was a good chance they'd lose the Battle of Brooklyn. They do lose the Battle of Brooklyn, by the way. George Washington loses quite a few battles in New York early on in the war. That's neither here nor there. Bose Reed, however, is given a special task by General Washington: take my stuff to Philadelphia. And Bose Reed is given a sealed bearskin covered box. And I don't know why I'm so attached to that particular description of the box, but it is a bearskin box that he brings down to Philadelphia and gives to John Hancock, who was sitting president of the Continental Congress, to maintain George Washington's goods till after the war. Now, Bose Reed, again, from New Jersey, is there for quite a while, but eventually leaves his position as a colonel in the militia because he's elected Secretary of State of New Jersey. And he is actually Secretary of State of New Jersey for 16 years through several governors. And again, I like to remind you that until the Constitution is written and approved, each independent state looked at itself very much as an independent nation because they didn't have a constitution. There was not one government. So New Jersey was its own state. And as Secretary of State of New Jersey, not only was he supposed to handle the interior information in the state of New Jersey, but he was supposed to handle foreign correspondence. Now, the Continental Congress was, if it was doing one thing well, it was dealing with foreign nations. But again, the individual states saw other states as other nations. So Secretary of State Bose Reed was dealing with other states, Pennsylvania, Virginia, New York, as if they were other nations. And he was, especially because the Continental Congress was dealing with overseas nations, these were the ones he was really dealing with. And well, he was there for 16 years, so he must have done a pretty good job. Eventually, the Constitution is ratified, and Jersey becomes a member of the United States, relieving the secretaries of each state of some of their duties, including Bose Reed, but he helps transfer New Jersey from essentially an independent nation into a united state. And I should note, he actually helped transfer New Jersey from a colony into a state, and then a state into one of the United States. So that is the overall assessment of the life of Bose Reed.